Ciao from Pietro, ciao from the limited edition. It's a pleasure to have you again today for another broadcast of the Independence. The Independence is it's your, I would say, weekly broadcast where we portray and present to you the most exciting brands, the most exciting watchmakers from the independent watchmaking arena, which is really our passion, a passion that I share with obviously our editor, the gentleman that actually reviews every single watch that goes on the limitededition.co.uk, all these incredible masterpieces. And it's Johnny from Ireland who will be connected to us live with us today as we introduce Johnny, one of the really surprising makers of the last 15 years. I have to say, very, very slowly but surely, they developed from a movement manufacturer into a fully fledged independent watchmaker that we have learned as well to appreciate more and more.
We're talking about, of course, Horage. How you doing, Pietro? Good to catch up with you again, and great to be having this opportunity to look at another one of these great brands. And indeed, they're not just another one, they're great friends of ours as well. We've spoken with our guest today on a number of occasions in the past, and it's always really exciting to see what Horage are up to next, because truly, as you say, in 15 years they have not only established themselves, but they have become just like the word disruptor was overused over the last 10 or 15 years. Horage, using state-of-the-art technology, complete transparency as to manufacturing processes and materials, and who does what and who is involved, and how the watches are put together. There's very, very little smoke and mirrors, if you like, with Horage. And to beat it all, delivering state-of-the-art, contemporary haute horlogerie at extraordinary prices. And
I would say there's only mirrors. There's no smoke at all with Horage, and it's been really really exciting, as I said, to be on their side during this development. And today we have the key man, one of the key men at Horage, our friend Dave Sharp, live with us directly from Switzerland. From Scotland, Dave has now permanently moved, basically, to Switzerland in many ways.
To my concrete cell.
Are you locked up, somewhere in the basement of the Horage manufacturing premises?
Yeah, I'm been chained to a desk. No smoke and mirrors. Chained to my desk, working hard to deliver whatever we can for Christmas. I'm Santa's elf.
It's we try to sum up. It's difficult to sum up 15 years, of course, but you're on a mission that we're going to talk about for independence. You're on a mission for offering the best possible product at the best possible price to watch enthusiasts out there. And from a movement manufacturer, you have basically turned these days into a fully fledged watch brand. Does this illustrate what Horage is about today?
I guess yes. Everything you say there is broadly true. We are, and certainly began as an engineering company whose main drive was to engineer modern architectures and movement technologies. And way back in the day, the original idea was to try and offer the watch industry an alternative, a modern, well-engineered, well-thought-through movement that they could utilize in their products. And it didn't quite turn out that way. We definitely engineered through some amazing product, but I think it's fair to say, and still being polite, that the Swiss watch industry especially is very conservative and very play it safe. And of course they were like, nah, this can't possibly be true. And nobody wants to be the first person to do something different. So, initially up front, we were pretty much up against it in terms of people didn't want to be the one who took that leap of faith and used our movements in their watches. So we really decided to kind of realign and we are realigned from an idea of engineering and then potentially producing, industrial scale movements for the industry, to engineering but utilizing those movements in our own product. And that's what became the genesis of the brand today, that is Horage, where all of our production of movements is utilized in our own product. And funnily enough, we have skirted with, we have been approached by quite a few different people, small and large, seeing if we might be able to provide them with things. So kind of funny how the circle completes itself. You just have to wait long enough to do it.
That's an interesting one, because I have noticed just in the last weekend, a brand who was starting to work with you. I don't know if that news has been made official yet or anything, but and I thought that was fantastic that independent brands were reaching out to Horage to avail of the experience and technology and the innovation.
Yeah. I think not a week goes by that I don't have, a very polite email come in from usually pretty small, either startups or independents, saying, we've seen your K2 movement, your K1 movement, your Tourbillon movement. Would you potentially be interested in supplying me some movements? We never say no, but at the moment, unfortunately, what we've had to say is, due to ultimately the kind of success of some of the models that we are doing, that we genuinely are utilizing everything that we can physically make in our own products. And I think it would be remiss to say yes to somebody and then have to let them down by not being able to supply. But we have very much said to them all, please do stay in contact. And as things develop with us as a brand and us as a business, if we're ever in the opportunity to help you, then we will certainly reach out and we will help you if we can.
Brilliant.
And of course, this comes on the back of really being on a long-term mission, because if we can recap, obviously, it didn't happen overnight that you came out with the K1, with the K2, with the Tourbillon, and now with the hybrid between the Tourbillon and the micro rotor K2 movement. There is behind years and years of grafting and really making yourself independent enough to be able only now to make those choices and to be able to offer that value. So what does independence mean for you and for Horage now, as you have publicly now launched a mission independence with an amazing array of launches, product launches that we've just seen unleashing in the last couple of weeks? Let's say in the last
for
month.
Us, yeah, sure. For us, independence is, I guess, ultimately it is about having control, true control of your own destiny, where you are, where you're going to get to, and where you want to be. Because, if you rely potentially too heavily on third parties for key tenures or key areas of your business, you're constantly at the beholdency of those other businesses. If they suddenly decide, no, we don't want to supply you because they change their mind, or we don't want to supply you anymore because we've been bought over by another brand or group, then you've got a real problem. You don't have a business ultimately anymore. It's a bit like, I don't know, if you start a car company and Ford supply your engines, and one day Ford wake up and decide, sorry, you're not having any engines anymore. You've got a car without an engine, which is not really a car, is it? And
which is
for us,
some people sometimes I think is worth pinpointing the fact that the vast majority of watchmakers relies directly or indirectly on obviously suppliers of any species and form, like Horage will obviously rely on some suppliers, but in this case, in actually the engine supplies, the full engine supplies, which is the movement. So I would say, I don't know, 80, 85, 90% of the brands would be dependent on a movement supply.
No, absolutely. We don't hide behind, we're not pretending that every single facet of everything we do absolutely ourselves in this very building. It would be unrealistic. It would also be really, to be honest, commercially stupid to do that as well, because, some components we lean on suppliers of that component. Now, it might be made to our exact designs or our architecture, but justifying buying a X million pound or euro or franc piece of equipment to use it 2 or 3 days a year is just commercially stupid. That's commercial suicide. You would be committing to do that. Supply chain is very different to reliance on other entities. It's about know-how, IP, and technologies. We will always, as will most industries, utilize manufacturers of parts. So businesses that are set up to just make things, they are specialists with CNC machines, they're specialists with EDM wire cutters. We will use them, others will use them. What we are trying to not rely on is other companies who have control of specific IP, technologies, and know-how that we don't have access to. We're given a final thing, but we don't have any ability to understand how that actually works. Therefore, if they change their mind, you have a problem. If a guy who makes a screw for me suddenly decides he doesn't want to make screws for me, there's another guy I can go and buy screws from. That's not the end of the world. It's a bit of a pain, a bit more work, but there's plenty of people in Switzerland who will pretty much make most things for watches, and there's lots of them in every of the major watchmaking towns and cities. So that's not the main issue. The main issue is having control over your technologies, your IP for that, and the know-how for that. And with us, our movements are ours. The design is ours. The blueprinting, the drawings are ours. All of the know-how, technology, and IP and unique points of it are ours. We can then get people we either make some of those parts ourselves, or we can get other people to make those parts for us if that makes sense to do that. But that's the way of it. Sapphire glass, almost nobody makes their own sapphire glass. In fact, I don't know of anybody that really makes their own sapphire glass unless they really are painful. They make it to their design, but there's a couple of places in the world to make it for them. There's guys that make dials. There's guys that make hands, screws, main plates, these parts. That's not the big issue. It's the know-how that's the issue.
So that's how can I say? You have illustrated the concept of independence very, very well, and what it means in terms of industrially being free and commercially being free for a company. But Johnny, they've also, in their actually template mission independence, they've put a very concrete meaning to mission independence, and they've shown a completely new way of interpreting from jewelry watchmaking to marrying the micro-rotor technology with the tourbillon technology to different ways of interpreting the face of a tourbillon with these incredible enamel dials in the tourbillon too. So that is really putting your money where your talk is, and Horage has been really surprising with the how can I say the carrying out of this mission independence.
Horage, for me, David, as I said earlier, they've established itself as a real presence on the landscape of the watchmaking, not just the independent watchmaking, but in general. And the big players are as aware of it as anyone. But it's just been a really very energetic drive behind the brand, and the leverage of social media, of getting the right people in the right places to develop the brand. And really, now that the brand is established, to be able to create a blueprint, if you like, a white paper, call it Mission Independence. And it's all about, I think it typifies the pioneering attitude and a pioneering approach to contemporary watchmaking that Horage have built around themselves now, and a fantastic template on which to move forward.
Absolutely. Don't get me wrong, this is the difficult way to do it, and I don't say that in oh, look at us, we've done it the hard way type attitude, but it genuinely is the hard way to do it. Most people will think brand, then product, then build towards doing it yourself. So they'll rely heavily on utilising other assets along the way, whether it's movement suppliers, like for example, Solita or whoever, bringing stuff in, putting a product together that become part of a brand, and then over time move towards becoming more independent in however you want to describe that way in their own right. We kind of did it the other way, which was we did all of the stuff you need to do to be independent before we had a brand. And some of that was happenstance and the way it panned out. And it wasn't always by some huge plan from day one to let's do it this way, but it developed that way. And we quickly realized that if you want to have any hope of having longevity, then you really have to work in a way that builds that out for a way that you can survive. That's what you have to do. And it's a painful way to do it, it has to be said.
But if I could just, before you come in there, Pietro, just to say that what you have done, going about it the long way, you have kind of protected yourselves from the pitfalls of supplier buyouts or things you got there. Yeah. But I'm not sure that everybody understands or realizes that these constantly shifting dynamics behind the scenes have such an impact on why brands, as you said a few minutes ago, that if you're one of your key suppliers suddenly send you a message to say, we're very sorry, but we can no longer facilitate the demand for our components, and suddenly you don't have a business. And this happens for many reasons. But what you're doing, going about it the long way, the arduous route, is paying dividends in that you're insulating yourselves from that kind of outside influence.
I also maintaining your non-negotiable and the very meaning of where you have grounded your brand, because the fact of offering great value to your collectors and to your customers was always paramount. And it would have been easy after 10 years of research and development and huge investments to just get to the point of producing a tourbillon movement involuntarily, in a way, in-house, and then just say, yeah, but this costed so much that obviously we can't price it where we initially wanted to. But you actually stuck to your guns in that respect, and you just kept giving that value, which in the mission independence template is absolutely clear.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that comes down to, I guess, Andy and Sue's kind of moral code. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they both come from different. They're not Swiss. Sue is of Taiwanese origin and has lived in Switzerland. She was educated in Germany, has lived in Switzerland for many years now. Andy is German. He lives in Switzerland, obviously now, but comes from kind of cycling and sports background, and definitely take a very materially very different outlook in terms of product and market than, I guess, the traditional Swiss watch industry. And they have a desire to deliver very good, premium, well thought through, well engineered, well produced product at a price that is, and don't get me wrong, we're not inexpensive. £10,000, £15,000 is a huge sum of money by anybody's standard. But in relative terms, we are about to, or we have just launched the micro rotor tourbillon watch, the Autark Tourbillon. The retail price is going to be in and around 15,000 Swiss franc mark.
Sorry, as we start looking at what is into this package of the mission independence
this watch. I mean, the reality is, for most other people to have something of this kind of standard and caliber and place of manufacture, with the best one in the world, and without sounding big about it, good luck getting change it at 6 figures. And some people say, you're too cheap. And it's like, well, we might use the argument they're too expensive. It depends. There's two different ways to look at the same conundrum. We are a business. We are not doing this for the good of everybody to here have a tourbillon and nobody makes any money. We are a business. We are here to make money, but the making money is the difference between making money that our employees can have good jobs and they can enjoy what they do and they can be stretched whether kind of mentally or in terms of their self-development, and we build out a company that has some future versus making money and more money for the sake of making money, I think is probably what sets us apart from maybe the typical company.
Can we encapsulate a little bit, recap a little bit on the value that we can observe here on the new Autark, from the material utilized, from the movements that were developed, the use of silicon, silicon technology?
Yeah. Okay, so this is our Autark Tourbillon. This is a product that we launched literally just over a week ago. It was Tuesday last week that we announced this to the general public. This is a movement that is our new KTMR, TMR standing for Tourbillon Micro Rotor. It is a conjunction of two of our previously in-house engineered movements, that being our K2 Micro Rotor automatic movement and our hand wind KTOU, our tourbillon movement, or hand wind tourbillon movement. And because we've designed both of those movements ourselves from the ground up.
Sorry, David, to interrupt you, but as a reminder, obviously the K2 that was launched in conjunction with the Superseed collection, and our audience may obviously know, and the Tourbillon, which was the Tourbillon 1, that was a huge success that you launched a couple of years ago. We were part of that launch, and we were amazed how successful that was as well.
No, absolutely. So what we did is, because we were designing from the ground up, we decided to think, we're not just designing a movement, we might design other movements. We might design tourbillon, K2, combine them. There might be other things in the future, who knows? I'm looking at screens here that I can't show you, but I probably could show you. I just can't show you because the camera doesn't go that far. But we designed it as a kit. So we designed certain key components to be utilizable as part of a modular development kit that allowed different architectures and different movement complications to be engineered in the future in a much simpler manner, much in the same way as a software developer, for example, develops a development core kit of software that they can build out from. We designed in the same way. And this is what's allowing us to do this kind of new TMR movement, which is combining, as you mentioned, our flying tourbillon, our titanium flying tourbillon, with our micro rotor. So what we're aiming for here is a movement that's thin, kind of in and about the 3 millimeter thickness, 72 hours of power reserve, runs well within COSC standards, has a silicon anchor escapement and hairspring on there as well. All of which, and this is important to note, are of our proprietary design. Not just the fact they're made of silicon, but the fact that we spent a long time developing our own special profiles, especially for the anchors, escapement, etc., in order to greatly increase the efficiency. One thing that people don't necessarily understand is that silicon added efficiency to generally already quite inefficient designs. But did they use it to their full potential? In many cases, sadly not. And we thought, well, if we're going to do it, let's do it at least as correctly as we can do, which meant spending that little bit extra to redesign profiles and redesign ideas that were just the accepted way of doing it, to change it in order to bring, and in our case, around 55% greater efficiency in the escapement. That's
so interesting. We were discussing yesterday with Laurent Ferrier about the use of the double S-spring, for example, to increase the efficiency. And I can see you waited a long time to be able to proudly showcase your silicon escapement and silicon hairspring.
Yeah, absolutely, because we are really proud of our engineering, and I don't even just say engineering solutions, because that makes it sound like you're trying to fix something that's broken. We've more tried to look at it afresh, and okay, there's certain tenures that you can't escape. People like watches of a given size, so the dimension, the thickness, these things are kind of defined by what people want. You can't make it the size of a dinner plate because no one's going to buy a watch. It might be 1,000,000 times more efficient, but if they don't want to wear it, then what's the point? So there is certain constraints that are there, but you can materially look at something from a very different angle and come up with innovative ways of doing things, as opposed to a solution which most of our engineers would say is a solution is a remedy to something that you're trying to fix. Don't try and fix it if it's not particularly fixable. Start again and do it clean. So that's kind of the thinking.
There's you weren't happy with that. There's another tourbillon in the Mission Independence Christmas Christmas box, and I think you have it there. You have it there as well with you.
I do. Let's see if I can get my magical mystery tour to work. So this is.
I love this. Love this.
Is there here? Let's see if it works. So look at this. Here we go. Hopefully there won't be too much shadow. So this is our Tourbillon 2, which is the kind of spiritual follow-up to the Tourbillon 1. Tourbillon 1 was our very first tourbillon project. Long story short, if no one's heard this before, is we originally were co-developing a tourbillon movement with a other very well-known premium movement manufacturer in Switzerland by the name of SUCHY. Unfortunately, as we alluded to earlier, change of ownership and change of circumstance within that business meant that that project never went anywhere, so we did it ourselves. That kind of gave birth and genesis to what became the Tourbillon 1 watch, which was...
Was it not La Jouperet? Was it not La Jouperet, David? Maybe it's
no, it was SUCHY. It was SUCHY. Yeah, we were working with. And then what happened in here as well is that watch became quite iconic. It became one of the best value Swiss produced tourbillons of a clean sheet design that was a hand wind with a titanium flying tourbillon weighing 0.29 grams. And anyone that's a bit geeky with their numbers, etc., will know that a 0.29 gram tourbillon cage is pretty much among the lightest in the world. And it's fair to say the brand that kind of brought tourbillon to the world are also responsible for that. But we're very proud to say that we've managed to do the same weight, but in titanium, which in of itself is not the particularly easy way to do it, but we did it. And full silicon here as well. Now, the original Tourbillon 1 only had silicon escapement and pallet. It didn't have the hairspring. The Tourbillon 2 adds in that silicon hairspring to the tourbillon movement. And in addition to that,
there was a patent that was kind of
that's a whole different episode, that one is, and we could go into that one day. But that's one where we probably need to be surrounded by lawyers and people who put gagging orders on us. But yes, let's say there was some roadblocks to the particular adventure. What we did do though is with Tourbillon 2, the case is the same size and aesthetically identical, but we managed to pare down the thickness. So this has come down from 10.9 millimeters top to bottom to 9.9 millimeters. Now, the reason that we've managed to get that size down is because the original cases were being developed along with what was going to be the dimensions of this co-developed tourbillon. In the end, when we did it ourselves, the tourbillon was much thinner, which meant that we could use a thinner case, but we got a bit excited and had already manufactured and designed the cases. So we actually, in the original tourbillon ones, had to machine the main plate thicker than it had to be in order to make it fit the cases that we already had. So, it shows you sometimes don't get too far ahead of yourself. For Tourbillon 2, we can go back to that original design specification with a thinner plate and utilize this thinner case. It's quite innovative as well. It is a 39 millimeter main case that's on there, and it's got a 41 millimeter bezel. That allows us to have a huge, big dial on there, but with a watch that's only 39 mil on the wrist. And with the lugs being part of the main case that's 39, the lug to lug is relatively compact for a 41 millimeter bezel watch. The original Tourbillon 1 had this open worked architecture. Essentially, it had no dial. The new one has a dial, and there are two options. There is the high-tech blue dial. That's a dial that has a coated treatment and has been used with a femto laser to engrave into it this texture. Sue had this idea about these hand-drawn numerals, and she spent weeks, if not months, coming up with this kind of font script that she designed, and based it back on the Book of Doro, which is an 8th century Irish manuscript, where it was printing was printed on, it was printed onto a papyrus paper. And I believe it's one of the earliest examples of how print was put to page in the way that we would know it nowadays. And we used a femto laser, so the newest of technologies to try and replicate this papyrus design from one of the oldest things known. And we also have done, I guess, one of the oldest, classiest kind of dial technologies from back in the day, Grand Feu enamel, and the white version is the Grand Feu enamel. That is done with one of our partners, that being Danske, who are one of the most premium producers of enamel dials in the Swiss market, producing dials for lots of very well-known brands. And they did a great job doing these really nice white Grand Feu dials. We also decided to offer 3 case materials, 904L steel, 18 karat rosa light gold, or 18 karat white gold as different options. And we've also done something a little bit innovative with the pricing on gold, which is that the weight of the gold that makes up the cases, the price that you pay is the price that you would pay per gram for gold on the open market. We do not add any markup to the price of the actual gold used in the cases, because gold's a commodity. You can buy gold, I can buy gold. Why should I charge you more for the gold that you can buy yourself than I can buy it for? We do charge you for the working of the material, for the design, for the manufacture, because they cost money. But the gold is the gold. If gold is, I wish it was $10 a gram, but it isn't. But that's how we do it, which I think is a super fair way of doing it.
It's and pretty unique too, because I've often marveled that when you're looking at a watch that's available in stainless steel or in gold, that how can the precious metal be 3 times or 2 times the price of the my point being that it's not it's clearly not a rational cost for sometimes for you to offer gold at the same rate of markup as it costs to create a stainless steel case for it. If you don't follow me, it's pretty unique. Again, another thing that you guys are doing that is bringing something new, and I'm sure not altogether welcome to the table, but
no. And the way we look at it is, our Tourbillon 2, the watch you saw, in a steel case and the blue dial, which I guess is the standard kind of lowest cost configuration, is in and around the 10,000 Swiss franc mark. So I think it's 9,990. That's kind of where we're at with that watch. The opposite end of the spectrum on Tourbillon 2 is the gold case with the gold clasp and the Grand Feu enamel dial, which comes in at circa 21,000 Swiss francs. And on the basis that the enamel dial, a couple of £1,000 is accounted for in that enamel dial. Yes, let's not kid anyone on here. That's a huge chunk of change for anybody. $8,000 extra for gold is a lot of money. But, it's a fair's fair.
There are additional as well advantages that Horage keeps offering, and we've been a humble platform to promote and to talk about those. There are all sorts of early bird offers that were available on the Tourbillon 2 that now are available on the Autark Tourbillon. There is the fact that, and it's something that we take pride from at the limited edition when we can. We try to help also with import duties and the sorts that are really sometimes an obstacle for people to buy from abroad. You guys basically cover, and when obviously in collaboration with us, cover the whole entirety of the import duties in any country in the world, up to a limit of 28%, I think, which is big deal, which means every time you make a decision, you have in mind what the collector gets and what is exactly the value that he will get for the money he's going to spend.
Absolutely. I think personally, I'm like most people. I like, buying things, whether it's technology or watches or whatever it is. And the world's a small place and the internet's made it small. And the number of times I find things and it's only available in the US or it's only available in Australia. Oh, I want it. And there's that bit of your head going, I see the price, but I know that's not the actual price, because by the time Customs in the UK get their hands on it, or whoever else you are in the world get their hand on it, and they add up the sums that you owe them, you're expecting another 20-25% on top of that. And we always thought that was just a pretty bad experience, to be honest, for anybody, whether you're buying
it takes the excitement
$10,
away a little bit.
sure, whether it's $10 and you're being asked for $2 tax and $25 administration fee, or whether you're spending, 25,000 and being asked for 4,000 or 5,000 in tax. It just takes the whole edge off the experience. You get your notification, it's on its way, and then the trepidation of how much I owe somebody kicks in at the same time, And we just thought, what, let's make this easy. Up to 28%, which is kind of a combination of looking at the bulk of the world in terms of VAT, duties, taxes, and combined that and said, okay, the price you pay is all in. The guy, when we ship it, he knocks your door, he hands you a box, he tells you have a lovely day, and off he goes, and you'll never hear or see from him again until he has another watch to deliver to you. Therefore, that's a good experience, isn't it? You get the notification, you track it to your door, and no one asks you for any more money.
Absolutely.
And when you bought a watch months ago, you've forgotten about the pain of paying for it long before you actually get the product in many cases. And actually, when you suddenly get that little chitty through saying, please pay FedEx €4,500 before we deliver your parcel, kind of definitely takes the edge off it.
Absolutely. And that's why on some of the Horage pieces you'll find on the limited edition, we indicate them as price on request, because like in these days, there is a early bird offer on the Autark Tourbillon, which was just launched. And also we can always quote, including the local taxes, if you obviously are living abroad. So that's the exact reason. This is the most my favorite of the latest launch, the Autark Tourbillon in titanium. Before we talk about the last topic, and it's already been 40 minutes, and we're very grateful of your time, David.
No problem.
We like to unveil a bit of a surprise during a live, and do we have any surprises that we can kind of hint and on the occasion?
Well, what can we say? So when we launched this project, actually originally it was actually going to only launch with one dial color, that being the one you just showed, which is the grey titanium. What you can't see quite there is there's a kind of micro bead finish to that dial, which you can see in maybe some of the closer up shots. This one here, which is a lovely texture. Now, we were always going to offer a couple of different movement colors, that being anthracite grey, red and blue. But after a lot of internal bashing of heads and arguments and what do we like, what do we not like, trying to forget what we think and what others might think, we also launched it with a blue sunburst dial without the power reserve, and also in a black dial with little kind of orangey red terracotta coloured highlights, again without the power reserve. And actually it's been interesting. So far, we are, the sales have been really positive for us over the last week. Around 50%, just over, I think it's 52% of people have gone for a power reserve variant. So one of the grey dial with one of the three movement colours. And around just under 50%, but around 50% again, have gone for a non-power reserve model. I think the most popular of everything is, funnily enough, grey. So the grey movement, grey dial with power reserve. And the next most popular is blue dial, blue movement.
Which is a reflection of what happened with the Autark, the previous collection, the Autark 10th anniversary, for example.
Absolutely. There is one colour combination, as in dial colour and movement colour, that nobody has bought. Every single colour has sold except one where there are still no sales. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but if you can work out what that is and you order it and you're the only person to order it, hey, you might have a very much an inadvertent piece unique on your hands on that case. But we've also had a few customers. What we love to do is bring our kind of like community and customers along for the ride. We ask what they think. Do you like this? Do you like that? Is this good? Is this bad? And we try and listen where we can. Will we always be able to offer everything everyone wants? Absolutely not, because we will have a million watches and we'll never make any of them. What we can, though, do is listen. And if there's enough of a groundswell of an asking for something, I don't know, maybe like a different movement colour or a different dial colour maybe, or maybe something just related but different to what we're currently doing, then we've got to listen. At the end of the day, it's the audience that buy the watches. If they don't buy the watches, we're just playing at computer games here and not making anything. So in round about a week from now, when we do our 2-weekly kind of Horage live stream where it's not edited, it's straight from the hip to the audience, we might be announcing a little surprise that's being added into the mix. And fear not, if you've already ordered one, anything that we offer in addition to what we had already offered along the journey will be optionable to you. So if we, for example, offer a new movement colour or a new dial colour, and you think, I like that better than what I ordered, drop us an email with your name and order number and we will change it out for you, no problem.
Amazing.
That's the beauty of what we're trying to do.
That's great.
We try to deliver what we can.
That's great. That's great. And so be in touch with us, because if you're very lucky, you may have a preview on one day or a couple of days before. And I can't wait to see it myself. There is a last topic as well, David. You are also slowly but surely, we only have a couple of minutes, so this deserves probably another broadcast. Slowly but surely, you're also trying to venture into the jewelry making applied to watchmaking, and not in a very humble way. You are actually you actually have a mission going on of actually changing completely the scenario for what is jewelry making, and your he watch is definitely on that kind of mission, isn't it?
Absolutely. This was a project that was a combination of things. It was a bit of a technology adventure. It was a little bit of an engineering adventure. There was definitely a little touch of, I wonder, could we actually do this? And what that was trying to produce effectively a high jewellery piece that would maybe be being seen from the high jewellery brands that we all know, the Van Cleef Apparels, the Bulgaris of this world, who, are very well known for producing amazing high jewellery pieces. But we wanted to try and do it the Horage way. And that was about being sustainable where you can be. And we're not talking a cardboard box. In this case, we were talking about the diamonds, using ethically sourced diamonds, those being lab grown as opposed to mined diamonds. Looking at the different technologies that are also
sorry.
That.
We need to repeat that, because if I am one being not familiar with the fact that yes, it is happening, that you can actually replace real diamonds that are real diamonds with diamonds that are equally real, but they're actually lab grown, because basically they are stones that are go through a process that is similar to what happens in nature exactly. So then the consequence is that this field could be completely changed for the future.
Yeah. Diamonds, diamonds are diamonds. Society has learned for various reasons, whether it's a bit of marketing this or a bit of that, have come to love diamonds for diamonds. But diamonds, it's a pretty dirty industry. And I say dirty on many facets. Even from the most basic thing of digging big holes in the ground, which is never pretty for the environment, to get out tiny little stones that take tons of other stuff out just to get these little stones. Yeah. Obviously, we can get into the bigger picture of the ethical nature of diamonds, the kind of nature in terms of the countries, the people involved. There's lots of things that aren't great about the diamond industry. And for sure, the natural diamond industry are trying to clean up and have been cleaning up their act. But there's certain inalienable things that you just can't not do, like dig big holes in the ground. The process of how a diamond is formed is a relatively scientifically well-known procedure, and there has been a lot of work done over the years to try and replicate this within a laboratory setting. They have been broadly successful to what they would call commercial diamond level, growing diamonds for their structural integrity, for the use in tools and such like, but they've never quite until more recently got to a level of jewellery standard diamonds where you're up in the upper echelons of grading, so into your visibility, your clarities, your carat weight, all of these kind of areas, your classic Cs. They have more recently began to be able to do this, and there's a few different procedures that have come to fore on it. Some of them which are quite energy intensive. In fact, to be fair, all of them are pretty energy intensive. But if you can source energy from a very clean way, solar power, wind power, etc., and utilize that energy to make diamonds. Surely the argument is that that's an infinitely cleaner diamond than a dug out the ground
And
diamond.
even diamond specialists and experts these days can't really distinguish a real, let's call it, natural diamond from a lab-grown diamond.
Certainly, to anybody in the street or anybody, even with a moderate knowledge of diamonds, would really struggle to tell the difference between a good
Amazing.
lab and a good diamond. So, yeah, we went down this avenue. We used recycled gold for the rotor. We used lots of materials where, we're not pretending that this is the world's environmentally cleanest product. It really isn't. A watch that's made out of precious metals and diamonds is not the cleanest product in the world. But relative to what else is being done, it is. And we're trying to do things that we do as sustainably as we can. And this was really developed as, I guess, at the end of the day, a technology demonstrator for what can be done if you apply good engineering, good systems, and good mindset to a product.
Amazing. I really look forward to hear more about that in the future, because I am completely new and unfamiliar with this at this
as am I.
time.
High jewellery watches, high jewellery is far from my scope of excellence in any way, shape or form, but it's been a journey for me as well, and it's been fascinating to see what these guys do. These guys are super geeky that grow diamonds. They make the average watch geek look pretty tame, it has to be said.
Yeah, but there is a big demand for diamonds. Just because yourself or myself may not be into having diamond watches, there's still a lot of people who are. And so you're broadening your demographic, your audience, by being able to provide something there, and add to that, because of the awareness that we have today, particularly people of a younger generation who are coming through and aren't just aware of the ethical, the environmental impact of they're not just aware of it, they're blooming well demand that.
Absolutely. And actually, interestingly, the whole genesis of the project with these diamonds was nothing to do with diamonds for a diamond watch. We were initially looking into the viability of doing nano diamond coatings on silicon materials in order to increase strength, durability, and lubrication. It turned out that was a bit of a dead end because it just wasn't needed, but it got us on a little journey with these people that are ingrained in that world of diamonds, and it kind of opened our eyes to what they are capable of doing, and also, to be honest, what they wanted to try to do, but no one's ever really asked them before. And when you set a task sometimes to these people, they like a task and they will do what they can do to make it happen.
For sure.
I'm so thrilled. There's in the art of watchmaking, there's always a new topic, a new technological topic to discuss about, or métier d'art topic to discuss about, and that's the beauty of a form of art that doesn't stop obviously surprising us. Gentlemen, we've gone a little bit beyond our normal time, but it was an absolute pleasure. I really feel we get the behind the scenes in a great way when David is involved, and Horage is the epitome a little bit of what it means developing things from the ground up, as we've seen together. So Johnny, thank you very much for your time and for organizing this, putting together the material, and being always a loyal companion. And thank you, David. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you for your time, and good luck on the rest of the launches that are behind the corner for Horage.
Oh, thank you very much. And maybe next time what we do is we have a roving camera and we go for a wander round the atelier, show you who's here, show you what they're doing. That might be interesting for folk to watch.
We'll not do that here. We'll do it in your places. People would not want to see this. So excellent, David. Thank you very much indeed for being a fantastic guest. But it seems that we've covered so many of the subjects that Pietro was just talking about there: the métier d'art, the innovation, technology, the future of watchmaking, etc., and all within one brand, Horage. And it's excellent to see what's happening and where mission independence takes us next.
Let's see where it goes.
See you soon.
Bye all.
Take care. Bye-bye.